Good afternoon, Dr. Green and her team. Today is August 5th, 2021. We're here to begin negotiations on our memorandum of agreement for COVID-19 for the 2021-22 school year. I appreciate you getting your team together so quickly, Dr. Green, in order to meet today. And with school starting next week and our teachers ready in pre-planning, I'm hopeful that we can come to an agreement today.
Thank you. Looking forward to being able to do so.
All right.
I'm putting my phone on do not disturb. Sorry. Okay.
All right. So I just emailed you guys our proposal. I also started with last year second semester MOA, but I just made it like it was all new language. I didn't underline and put stuff in red. So do you want me to just read through it?
Or just, yes, if you would please. And you don't have to read verbatim, just give me the highlights here of each of the sections.
So for the first section is leave provisions. Basically, all I did for, hold on one second. For leave, it might be easiest if I do look at last year's though as well. But essentially I tried to mirror last year's language as far as our leave provisions go and just change it to 21-22. And hold on one second. I think there was another thing that I took out that I wanted to make sure it wasn't missing. Okay, so A and B should basically be the same, except I did remove number 4 from last year that says members of the bargaining unit may not participate in sick leave buyback if they use any of these board provided additional days. We've discussed this before, and we actually think it's in the district's benefit to allow teachers to use those sick leave days sooner than later because they become more valuable over time as the employee's salary increases. So we feel like if they want to use sick buyback, that they should be eligible to do so if they have the time.
Okay.
All right. Then okay, I did get rid of the old C, which was carrying over the entire balance of comp time. Okay, because they were able to use their comp time last year. D, I've left the same, except I changed the years that they can still apply for personal leave of absence and work outside of the school district this year. Got to remember, even with vaccinations, we still have people who are high risk, who are very nervous about being in schools at this time. Okay, the next part stayed the same about you just informing them about the process for using FMLA and whatever we're calling it, but what was formerly known as Families First Coronavirus Response Act and Workman's Comp. And then we left that members of the bargaining unit may use comp time in lieu of sick time without 2 days advance, because we want people who are not feeling well to stay at home. So we want to make our comp time available for sick as well. I've eliminated what used to be the whole G about distance learning while a teacher is under quarantine. Yeah, I think we touched on that somewhere else. I felt like it wasn't necessary to put that in there. Any questions about that leave section?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to safe environment. Most of this has stayed the same. Got the adequate cleaning supplies the same. Members of the bargaining unit are not required to clean their rooms, but supplies will be available if they want. C is the same about being reimbursed for buying supplies that the school might not have. So I have a new D and E, nothing, just clarification. So D now says upon request, missed a comma there. Face mask will be provided to any member of the bargaining unit. And then I put E, upon request, KN95 face mask will be provided to any member of the bargaining unit. So we know that the district has plenty of masks and KN95s available.
So can we define D like cotton, or what can we define? Disposable?
I thought of it. I know
Disposable?
Kyle and I paid a visit to the supply warehouse, and I think we saw both kinds of masks there, disposable and cloth masks. So whatever you guys have available.
I think the concept was to give you guys options of what you already had available. So it wasn't going to lock you into something, Dr. Green.
Yes. Thank you, Kyle, for explaining that better than I did. All right, moving. I say I got another typo here. I did EE, so this should be F, D, E, F. We still want plexiglass available in each class, each room, and I wanted to clarify that too. It says upon request, each member of the bargaining unit who interacts with students in a classroom setting shall be provided a plexiglass barrier if available. So we still want our folks to have the options to get these plexiglass barriers. But I mean, I'm also talking about if the speech pathologist or whoever's working with students wants plexiglass, they can get one. Okay, then, like I said, I really messed up this lettering. Next one, G, that's about the temperature checks. I want to leave that in place in case anybody wants to continue that practice. I know we did, especially first semester, have a bunch of teachers who actually were taking their students' temperatures. H would be the same about sending a student to the clinic. I and J are a little different, and hopefully you guys are keeping up with where I'm changing this. So all district protocols for training and cleaning will be posted on the BPS COVID-19 resource page, which can be accessed from the main page of the Brevard Public Schools website. Actually, that one is the same. J is a little different. All district protocols for quarantining, testing, and returning to work will be posted on the BPS COVID resource page, which can be accessed from the main page of the Brevard Public Schools website. So what some districts are doing is, putting detailed procedures into their MOA. I'm okay with keeping it on the website because frankly, with the CDC, it's recommendations, it's liable to change. So I would just prefer if it's easy to understand and easy to find on the district website. Okay, moving along to K, that's the same about high-risk individuals or individuals who have high-risk people in their household can request exclusion from supervisory duties that are not socially distanced. Okay, L is the same concept, a little bit different language about virtual PD. And I got to tell you, this is probably the biggest concern I'm hearing from our teachers is about doing PD in groups of teachers with groups. So it says administrators will make every effort to schedule face-to-face staff meetings or professional development in spaces that provide 6 feet social distancing. If they desire, members of the bargaining unit may attend meetings, school-based professional development, or district-based professional development virtually. And then the rest is the same. But I also want to make sure that we're extending the virtual trainings to district trainings as well. And you know, it's just an option for those folks that desire to do so. If the face-to-face can still be available for teachers who want the face-to-face or who are comfortable with it, but I still would like to see a virtual option for all PD. And like I said, it's one of the biggest concerns we're hearing now. And what we know about COVID is we don't need folks congregating in one room for long periods of time. All right, JKLM, which I had as J on yours. So this is similar, slightly changed, just still asking that with the exception of early release days, members of the bargaining unit will have the option of working off campus after student dismissal. And I go back to the reason we initially put that in there was twofold. One is mitigation. We don't want folks to congregate together in buildings any longer than they have to. And secondly, we still feel like it helps the custodians out by teachers being out of their way so they could get there and clean. And then frankly, on top of that, our teachers are professionals. We all know, nobody disagrees, they work more than 40 hours a week. So we need to start getting with the 21st century workforce and allowing them to work from home when they feel they need to. Okay. There was a slight change to that where I removed the piece about itinerant teachers not being eligible for that. And K, I think this is new. Oh, it's not K, it's N, it used to be K. All members of the bargaining unit will be notified of a positive COVID-19 case at their schools. So just like we were doing last year, I want to make sure that everyone's getting a notification when there's a positive case. I, of course, no, we're not specifically identifying individuals, but we're talking about just there's cases in the school, teachers want to know.
So can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I disagree at all. And I'm not even I'm not responding to any counter language to that, but I am going to tell you, you may or may not know, we're not doing any of the paperwork this year. We're not doing anything. Principals are not going to have any access. The DOH is doing all of that. Principals are not going to have any access to any of that paperwork. Last year, if you recall, we did everything from, our COVID department. We had some clerks, Mike, myself, Dr. Thetty, Jana Jenkins, Chris Moore. We did all those forms and paperworks and we forwarded them to the schools. We're out of that realm this year. I don't know how anybody's going to be notified of anything, including the principals. So I don't know unless I can get some answers while we're caucusing, if I can even respond to that. I'm not saying I disagree.
Yep.
I'm saying I don't know if we're going to have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I think it would just be a matter of logistics, but I do understand that you're going to need to maybe talk to some people on that. Okay. District-wide closure. Actually, the former number 3 was evaluations. I've removed the whole evaluation section. I don't feel that at this point that's relevant. And frankly, I don't think we could change the valuation system again at this point. We know that's not an easy process with the state. So the new 3 is the old 4, which was district-wide closure. I've not changed anything on that. I know, the governor would, that's not the governor's intention to do a district-wide closure, but with these cases moving as they are, I just want to keep that in place, just in case, because let's face it, none of us know what the future holds. 3-4 weeks ago, we were all excited about going back to a normal year, and now we're here. So I've not changed anything on that. I just think we need to keep that in place. All right. Next, number 4. I'm losing track of number 4. So district-wide closure. Next thing I have here is distance learning and event of school closure, which I thought was in our old one, wasn't it? Well, it was somewhere. Yeah, so this was the old 6. So I've not changed anything on that. Except I got rid of D that says all applicable provisions of e-learning and distance learning while a teacher is under quarantine shall apply. All right, and then of makeup days and absences, A is the same as the previous one. B is the same. C, I put in a new C in here, which comes directly from the superintendent's presentation with the sentence added to it. It says all Brevard Public Schools teachers will be responsive to students who are absent. In some cases, a teacher may include some video connectivity. In other cases, they may prepare paper pencil lessons. And in others, they may interact via digital portals like Google Classroom. And then so that's right from Dr. Mullen's presentation. The part that I've added, and I've had a lot of discussion with Dr. Mullins about, is members of the bargaining unit will not be required to use live or recorded video. And in my discussions with him, he is supportive of that. Okay, and then D, want to give teachers the opportunity to cover classes again in case we experience a substitute shortage. So it's basically the same idea, except now secondary isn't on block. So we've made it $15 for everyone. I do think, is there still a block school out there? Is THS still block?
What? That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I think THS is still blocked. So of course for them, they would get $30 rather than the 15. I don't think you object to that.
I
And
object. No, I'm kidding.
that's not the part you would object to. So, okay, and then got rid of the part about the calendar because we're not messing with the calendar at all. So that's what I have.
Okay. So we're gonna leave this meeting. Melissa, what extension are you at right this moment in time?
11347.
11347. I'm gonna conference in with Melissa and Mira, and we're gonna hang up right now, and I'll call you when we're ready. Or
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll call you guys.
Okay. We'll probably just hang out here. Go.
All right. Thanks.
Anthony, at the top, you can pause the recording.
All right, Dr. Green, welcome back. Do you want to review what you?
Sure. We found a lot of common ground in here. A lot of things that we agree with, some things that we've, responding to. So the leave provisions, we changed a little bit of the language to make it very clear that we are offering a limited portion of the Brevard of the FFCRA. The board has agreed to grant an additional 10 days for 4 of the 6 reasons. So we put provide members of the bargaining unit paid leave under the Brevard Public Schools limited provisions of the now expired Families First Coronavirus Response Act. The school board of Brevard County has voluntarily elected to allow limited portions of the leave provisions and continue that expired December 31st. Or I'm sorry, we allow them to use it through December 31st. You, again, you started with a year's response time for this, and we're going to go like our proposal is a semester at a time. Who knows where we're going to be again in December? Last year, we did a semester at a time, and so we're proposing to go through December 31st right now. So we're adding, we're allowing for an additional 10 days of, at our own cost, not for the extended family medical leave, and no longer for the additional 5 admin days or the 5, the up to 40 hours of their own personal comp time. But they certainly have the ability to use comp time if they have it. So I hope that explains that.
Let me slow down here and look.
Dr. Green, while Anthony is looking through it, can you explain the provisions that you are going to cover? Because you said
Sure.
4 out of 6.
Yes, give me 1 second and I'll pull that up. It is already on the website, that wonderful COVID website. Give me 1 second. Actually, I think I found it on the leaves website. I don't know where it is on the COVID website. There's too much stuff there. So I went to our leaves of absence portion and under the COVID leave form. So the first reason is I am subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine to isolate. So that's number 1. The second reason, I have been advised by a healthcare provider or the Department of Health to self-quarantine. Number 3, I am experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and am seeking a medical diagnosis. And the medical diagnosis has to be sought within 48 hours of calling in sick if it's going to be attributed to FFCRA. And number 4, I am caring for an individual subject to an order and advised by the DOH to self-quarantine due to the COVID concerns. So there were 2 portions last year, and I don't even know that I'm well versed in them, but where you could take an extended family medical leave at 2/3 pay. Again, I'm not versed in those 2 areas, but they were on our check sheet last year, numbers 5 and 6, and those have been removed. So just the first 4, or they weren't even the first 4. I believe they were 1. Well, okay, I think they're 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, it's the first 4.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, and the one that you're really eliminating is caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed or child care provider is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19, which a full-time eligible employee for up to 12 weeks of leave at that 2/3.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Kyle, can you send that document over?
Now,
to me?
Kyle, not that they wouldn't qualify for family medical leave under regular family. I don't know the answer.
I know, but you're just saying it won't be paid.
I don't know the provisions of regular family leave. I know that there is
regular
something.
FMLA is unpaid.
No, FMLA is paid until your accrued days are out. There's a portion on there. Here's the paid days. Here's the non-paid days.
Yeah, they're using their own leave though.
Yes, correct. Yes.
All right. Kyle, can you send that document over so
Yeah, I'm sending it right now.
Okay. All right, Dr. Green, you want to continue?
Sure. So underneath A, again, we struck out B, which were the 5 days of board paid and then the extra comp time. We struck that out. And so now I'm down to 1. Members of
Wait,
the bar,
wait, hold on 1 second. So you struck out,
I redlined your sheet, Anthony. So if you're
Yeah.
looking at my red lines, that's your sheet.
um,
So you had left the 5 board paid days in, we
Yes,
struck that
yeah.
out. So I'm working off of your sheet.
Yeah.
So number 1 below that, the members of the bargaining unit who are subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine may work, under COVID-19, may work remotely under the provisions of 4D 1 through 5 if they desire. Now, last year it said 4N 1 through 6. You struck all of 4, we put it back.
Okay,
And we took we took one thing out because it used to have 6, now it only has 5. So I don't remember which one we took out, but I'll tell you when we get there. Again, then number 2, we took out the opportunity to apply for the extended family medical leave. Back to your sheet.
okay.
Number 2 is, or what you had, nothing shall prevent them from applying for illness in the line of duty or workers' comp, same as last year. And we added back the sick day thing. Now, I hear what you say about the expense of sick days. That's a new, you said that you've mentioned that before. I've not been involved in those conversations, so I don't recall you mentioning that before. But I do know that I do believe that you have the costs that these days cost the district in the last year. And again, it's just budget reasons.
Yeah, well, but this is fully reimbursable under the federal grants. Kyle, go ahead.
I was just gonna highlight that this is not any money that's coming from the district. This is 100% reimbursable under the All 3 CARES Act. And secondly, I would also point out that if an employee sells their sick leave this year versus next year, it's saving the district money.
Yeah, that's what Anthony said. And he said that had been discussed before. My point is I'd not been in those conversations, so I really don't know. I have to think about that concept.
I mean, it's a really easy concept. If I sell sick leave this year and I earn $10 an hour, it's 80% of $10. If I get a $2 raise, it becomes 80% of $12 next year.
Got it. I understand that concept. I got the money concept. Again, it's just new. It's new language. I've not been in those discussions before. So I was trying to be cognizant of your time. So we definitely are not in agreement that people can work while they're on leave. They certainly can apply for personal leave according to our leave policies, but we are not allowing any work. And in fact, we've already denied leaves this year for people who are still working outside. So that was last year, and now we're back to our regular leave policies. And we need our teachers at work. And so if people want to work, they need to come work for us. Yes, we will continue to inform all of our bargaining unit members about the provisions of the Brevard Public Schools limited portion of this act. We will make sure that they're aware of it. We agree that they can use their comp time in lieu of sick time without 2 days notice if it's for COVID related reasons, not for any reason, but for COVID related reasons.
I just add that being sick and not feeling well is a COVID related reason.
It is, as long as they're going to go get tested within 48 hours. Absolutely. But if they don't go get tested within 48 hours, it's not one of the FFCRA provisions that we're allowing this year.
You're not expecting a result within 48 hours?
No result. Just, we had employees across the board last year, not just your bargaining unit members, but many employees who would call in sick on a Monday and not go get tested till the following Sunday. And then it would come back negative, but they would attribute all that to, FFCRA. So they have to go get tested. even if it comes back negative, if they've gone to get tested within the first couple of days, it still is FFCRA, even if it comes back negative. But they can't call out sick and wait, a week before they go get tested. So.
Kyle, did you have a question? I thought I saw.
No,
your hand.
she answered it. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Yes, sir. So adding back your distance learning that refers to the 1B1 or 1A1, actually, 1A1. We added back distance learning while teacher is under quarantine, and here's what the provisions from last year read. As members of the bargaining unit will be compensated during a required quarantine, they will work their contractual 8-hour day. The teacher's workday and daily schedule will mirror the student as if instruction were at the school site. I know the part we took out. We took the part out that said some students may be there, some students may be, because the governor is not allowing that, or, the commissioner, it's not allowed this year. That learning concept is not available this year. So we did take that out. The teacher has continual contact with students from his or her remote location in order to respond to the academic needs and support his or her students during the workday, while a substitute is managing student behavior and addressing student physical needs. The teacher maintains all responsibility for planning instructional activities, communication with parents, families, assessing student performance, providing feedback, and all expectations as if the teacher were in a traditional setting. The teacher will continue to have his or her regular meeting time, planning time, and duty-free lunch. If a teacher is not able to meet those expectations of distance learning during quarantine, he or she should consider taking, the leave that's allowed them, or a leave of absence. We have been very clear. This has to be at the teacher's request to work from home, not our request. We're not saying to a teacher, oh, we understand you're isolated or that you're ill. We understand that, but can you work from home for us? We're not, that's not going to be our intent. We want the teacher to feel comfortable enough and well enough to say to us, am I able to continue with instruction for my kids? And under those conditions, yes. Questions about that?
No.
Okay. Safe learning environment. We agreed with everything until we got down to the temperature checks. We crossed that out. I know you mentioned that there were some teachers that took advantage of that in the first semester of last year. I don't know that we had people doing that, but again, we've upped the letters for sending a student out of the building have been updated. The DOH is more involved this year. Teachers are allowed to send a student to the clinic anytime they want to send a student to the clinic. If they need a temperature check, they can send the student to the clinic to have a temperature check. But the teachers should not be in the business of taking students' temperatures. Yes, we'll keep the protocols on the website updated and at the forefront, including the quarantining and the testing, et cetera. We took out that members of the bargaining unit who are high risk or have a high risk individual may request exclusion from supervisory duties. They can do that anyway. They can always go ask their principal for an exclusion from supervisory duties.
So why would you take it off?
Because it doesn't need to be there. They have the right and ability to go ask their supervisor at any time. Can I not do this? And we have had extremely reasonable responses last year. It wasn't a mandate. It wasn't a requirement. It was an ask.
It was in writing, and we know, you and I both know, when things are not clearly in writing, it's a lot of phone calls between you and I and principals and teachers when we can just leave things in writing and make it clear to everybody that that is an acceptable ask. And it also, it empowers our teachers who may, have annual contracts to go and ask when it's in writing. So that was an easy one for you, Green. That was an
Okay,
easy
we'll think
one.
about that. We'll consider that. I don't think that we were, we'll consider it. We our administrators will make every effort to schedule meetings that allow for social distancing. But we're not going back to virtual meetings. We are open. Across the board, we're open. We have face-to-face student contact. We are not allowing e-learning. We've learned so much in the last year about being safe.
Well, wait, I gotta stop you. Because if you learned so much about being safe, you would have realized a lot of things that we were doing last year were keeping us safe.
Absolutely.
Now just saying administrators will make every effort to schedule face-to-face staff meetings that provide 6 feet. For instance, I was told that was gonna happen today at the secondary professional development day, and then I'm getting emails about 30 or 40 people in a room. So we know that every effort really doesn't mean too much. We've learned that over the years. So we need this is important to us. We need this option for some folks to do this virtually.
So
And
let me just say,
saying every effort is not cutting it. And also what we know this year is what we should have learned is that this new variant is way more transmissible than the previous one. So stuff we were getting away with last year, we are not going to get away with this year. Also, there's no mask mandate. So you're now asking your employees to go into these close quarters, unmasked, 50 people in a room is what I heard today was going on. So I'm afraid, when you're saying, yeah, schools are open, and yeah, schools are not going to be open if you do not have employees in those schools.
So let me say a couple of things. Today's meetings, all the choices were at the pleasure of the teacher. They could have picked a different session. They also could have worn a mask. Like, yes, masks aren't mandated, but anybody can walk in and wear a mask. And we know for sure that masks work. So
I literally have an email right in front of me. There were 49 people in my mandatory session. It was a science lab, and it was definitely not meant to fit that many. So, and unless they have KN95 masks are not going to protect them. So we know that at this point.
I understand, but nowhere is virtual learning happening except at virtual school this year. Like, we are open face-to-face. Our kids are face-to-face. Our teachers are face-to-face. Our principals need face-to-face. And what we know, Anthony, is we have a lot of work to do. And last year, virtual work did not work. Virtual instruction did not work.
We're not talking about virtual instruction. We're talking about virtual professional development with grown-ups. And virtual professional development has been going on for a long time. And I also need to add, it's just not the teachers attending these virtual professional developments. You are forcing our resource teachers to go teach these things in dangerous conditions as well. And they are not comfortable with it entirely either.
So let me respond to that. We're not forcing that. We're allowing for those people who want to hold virtual trainings to hold virtual trainings. We're not saying that no training across the district this coming year is not going to be virtual. That's not what we're saying. We're saying if a principal is having a meeting or if a principal is having a professional development, teachers need to be in attendance at the meeting and at the professional development face-to-face. We've talked to our principals about being thoughtful and careful in planning and doing small groups but
okay. Dr.
but
Green,
we
we
have
could
not
talk
said
to people until we're blue in the face, but just like what we saw today, we're not putting the safety of our employees ahead of our desire to boost student achievement. So we're putting our employees and their health and their families at risk because we're hell-bent on student achievement. And that's actually going to come back to bite us in the butt because we're going to give, COVID to these kids as well. And if it is not on paper, it's not going to be done. We
And
knew
I
today,
go back and
we knew
say,
today was a terrible idea. You literally had 800 teachers in these two high schools.
and I go back and
and
say, we've learned a lot and teachers need to utilize what they've learned.
teachers, what
Anthony,
about
you and I both are wearing our masks again. You and I both are wearing our masks again. I'm not sure that you ever stopped wearing your mask. I did stop wearing my mask. I'm wearing my mask every time I walk out of my office. We've learned a lot. We have to utilize what we've learned as we attend things that we're required to attend.
Kyle?
I was just wondering, Dr. Green, do you know the capacity of the boardroom?
I
for the board
don't know it
meeting?
offhand, but I do know that they have it scoped out by 6
They
feet.
have
They've
stickers
got
on the floor.
X's. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. You know what's amazing? You know what they can't have in a science lab with 49 people? What the board gets, what the senior staff gets. I mean, this argument is, I'm sorry, like, I don't understand how every other company in corporate America can do virtual trainings except for a school district.
Again, I'm not saying no virtual trainings will happen. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is if the principal schedules something that needs to be face-to-face, it needs to be face-to-face. And the principal will use every effort to make sure that safety protocols are there and exhibited, and teachers need to take advantage of the safety protocols that we've learned about last year as well.
And can you explain what safety protocols that teachers can take advantage of that they learned last year?
Sit 6 feet away from someone, wear your
That can't
mask.
happen. That can't happen in these meetings. So that's
You're
one.
talking about one day today. I'm talking about a school that has large group instruction areas, auditoriums. I'm talking cafeterias. You're talking about one day today where all of the secondary teachers and that came together from across the district into 2 sites. We're talking about professional development during the school year that principals and supervisors are going to have for their smaller staffs.
But the point is that if we couldn't trust district superintendents to make the right call on professional development today and put every single secondary teacher in this district in a high-risk situation, you're going to think principals are going to do that? Where is the example that is even being set? So the district set a terrible example. Its secondary superintendent set a terrible example for all her principals today. And now you think principals are going to turn around and do all this? That's not how things work. And we're going to insist that this is put in writing. And you know, we will go lobby the board. You know, we'll go through that process again, and eventually we will get this. You will agree to do this.
Mira,
Because there are still a couple or a few board members who are concerned about COVID protocols. So I mean, you and I could talk until we're blue in the face, but we will go to the school board members, and when we come back, we will make sure that that's in our proposal.
Mira, are you able to unmute your mic? I know Mira was driving earlier.
I know Mira's gonna say that she can do it, but we know she's a rock star principal.
I was just going to ask for examples of her specific building and her size of staff and what kinds of places she could offer for meetings.
Well, I'm at the middle school level, and so I have approximately, if you're looking at specifically classroom teachers, 40-ish. So in our media center, you know, depending on how we move things around, we are able to space out. We also have cafeteria if we wanted to use the cafeteria, depending on time frames, which is what we did a lot of the times last year.
Thank you. And keep in mind, Anthony, a lot of our stuff is small group. It's not whole staff. It's, you know, this grade level, that grade level, this English team, that math team. It's not 40 people at a time. You know, a couple of times a semester do principals bring all staffs together for professional development. That's in the contract.
Well,
So it's
you
not
know, and
something that
then-
happens twice a week.
And then, you know, I just go back to, and I've been hesitant to, you know, to promote it, but we already have language in our contract that says teachers do not need to work in unsafe working conditions. And, you know, I am more than willing to go down that road if I have to. I would prefer to work this out and have an agreement in place we can all live with. But I will use that language to challenge this all the way to arbitration. And when Florida and Brevard County are the worst, some of the worst hotspots in the nation, I don't think any reasonable magistrate's going to side with the district and say, okay, you don't have mask policy, you don't have a guarantee of social distance, you're using very few mitigation strategies, and you're asking these teachers to go into these situations. I'll have that debate all we want, because I'm confident any reasonable person is going to side with us in an arbitration. And like I said, that's not my intention, but we do have that language in place, and if need be, we will pull the trigger on it.
Okay. Moving on. No, we are not going to agree to the early release when kids leave the building and teachers can leave. So we're just not agreeing to that.
Can I ask why is it you're opposed to that? Do you, I mean, I know you believe teachers work more than 40 hours a week. So I
Absolutely.
don't want to put words in your mouth. So what's the big deal if they don't have any meetings? Why can't they leave, you know, to go work at home for 20 or 30 minutes?
Because too much activity happens after school and we need them there. We need principals to be able to have conversations with them. We need parents to be able to reach them when they call after their child gets home. We need children to be able to stay in classrooms if they're getting tutoring and things like that. We lost a lot of ground last year when teachers were leaving the building early, and we're just not going to agree to that this year. No one. And also you have to remember, it benefited one group of teachers a lot more than it benefited another group of teachers. So we got a full teaching group, and it's just not something we're going to agree to.
I got to correct the record there, because it's not about pitting our teachers versus one another. It's just about the differences in scheduling between elementary and secondary. It just so happens elementary has that time at the end of the day. So this is a logical mitigation effort to not have teachers around one another sitting in a building any longer than they have to.
They're not around each other. They're in their rooms waiting, you know, they're in their rooms doing work. It wasn't the safety, it didn't have the safety impact that I don't know, people thought it might have. District-wide closures, we took out, I mean, we're not going to have a district-wide or a school closure. As you know, at the end of, or, you know, in our closing, we say, if anything requires us to come back, if there's something that we need to come back and talk about, we'll come back and talk about. But it's been made very clear, district-wide closures and school closures are not an option this year. So.
Well, Dr. Green, I go back to 3 weeks ago, we didn't think we would be negotiating a COVID MOA either. So with the cases rising as they are, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I would agree that it's unlikely that we go to district-wide closure. However, what harm does it do to have the parameters of that in place? So if we are in that situation, we're ready to roll, rather than having to come back to the bargaining table to negotiate on the fly. I mean, I agree that it's highly unlikely, but I'm not so confident it's impossible that that's going to happen again. So
okay, in that vein, we didn't even read through it, so I'll have to read through it and make a consideration. So, you know, I don't know, when we're being told that funding is based on days that we're here, I just can't imagine, but I'll go back and read it.
Well, like I said, and, with the school-wide closure as well, although I think it's unlikely, especially with this school closure, I don't think that it's for sure not going to happen. So I don't see the harm in keeping these two items there, just in case,
Okay,
in case.
we'll look at them.
Okay, all right.
Makeup and absence days, we left the section that you added. We went back and looked at the superintendent's presentation, so we changed a little bit. So we added, one of the things that was missing from that paragraph was about the materials and the blended learning instruction. So we changed sentence 1 to read, all Brevard Public School teachers will be responsive to students who are absent, and a significant portion of our instructional materials are based on blended instruction, which is how he ended that paragraph. We kind of morphed it into
Okay.
the middle sentence.
That was an oversight.
Related to the live or recorded video, kind of going back to what you said about the distance learning and doing something on the fly. There are no plans at this time for members of the bargaining unit to be required to use live or recorded video, but may choose to utilize these tools. Again, if it got to the point, as you say, that things change so quickly and we would have to come back and look at that. I don't want to put a wholesale statement that it's not going to be, it's not required. Yes, it's not required right now. That's a fact. And distance learning is not allowed right now. And school closures aren't allowed right now. Those are all facts. If they change, we can certainly come back and have discussion about it at that time.
Dr. Green. So this particular language is in the student quarantine section. It is not in the distance learning section.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me find it.
I mean, it's the paper you sent. It says number 5, makeup days, absences, and student quarantines. So I'm just very confused as to why Dr. Mullins, every single board member, Ms. Klein and Dr. Sullivan have publicly stated, not something in a private meeting, have publicly stated that our teachers will not teach hybrid.
Absolutely, they won't. I'm not
Okay.
suggesting at all that they do.
No, but you literally said, well, there's no plans at this time. Like I've never understood a contract where you could buy a car. There's no plans at this time, but maybe in the future. Like that's under student quarantine. So I'm really confused of why we cannot unequivocally in writing put it's not going to happen.
You don't have it. So this is a new paragraph that you added, Kyle, that you guys added. I don't know.
You added on at there are no plans at this time. So Dr. Green,
agree.
what if rather than saying there are no plans at this time, we say something like in parentheses or unless directly ordered to by the governor or commissioner of education? Because I think that's what you're saying.
Well, I wasn't saying the commissioner of education. I was referring to our leadership.
Well,
Again, so let me go back, Kyle. Let me go back to where you pulled this from. You pulled this section from the superintendent's presentation on let me see the title of
mitigation
it.
strategies.
Yeah, let me find the title of it. Mitigation strategies, the mitigation update, right? You pulled it right from here, page 11. I'm looking at it. It's not mentioned on page 11. It's not mentioned anywhere in the presentation. So you told me that you pulled this from the superintendent's presentation, but it's not there.
What are you
But
talking
no,
about?
it's 100% there. We've seen it. It's been briefed to the board twice. It's been briefed to principals.
Okay, hang on. Let me do a search on the presentation. Just hang on one
Hold on.
second, because we tried to find it.
Well, I mean, that's really disconcerting because you have principals on your team and they were supposed to know about this because that's what we were told.
That's not what I'm saying. You didn't hear what I said. You told me that section C came from the superintendent's presentation.
Dr. Green,
I'm
hold
in
on.
the
Let me bring up
superintendent's
the
presentation.
Let
I'm
me
in-
bring
I'm
up the
there.
superintendent's presentation. Hold on.
It was on July 29th on that board meeting. And all I'm trying to do is find it because that's where you told me it was.
Hold on. So I am looking at, it says educational services for quarantine students. I don't see slide numbers on there. It says all Brevard public school teachers will be responsive to students who are absent. In some cases, a teacher may include some video connectivity. In other cases, they may prepare paper pencil lessons. And in other cases, they may interact via digital portals like Google Classroom. And then there is that sentence, a significant portion of our instruction materials are based on blended instruction. And that is where I got it from. And that is where I added the sentence that said teachers will not be required to use live or recorded video.
So
And
let's just take that sentence out. It stands on itself, you're telling me, from the superintendent's presentation.
no, I want to make it very clear. I want to make it very clear. And like I said, this is in the discussion that I had with him twice, he agreed. And as Kyle said, the school board members have agreed that they're not doing hybrid. If you want to use the word hybrid
Anthony,
instead.
I just want to add on. This is no, take away the discussion we had with him privately. The discussion Dr. Mullins had with the public at the school board meeting was we are not teaching hybrid. He was asked by a school board member. He said, we are not teaching hybrid. It's very frustrating that we can't even get it in writing, even though it's publicly been stated.
So why don't we say that, Kyle? Why don't we say teachers will not be required to teach hybrid?
Okay.
Yep, we could live with that.
Leave it at that.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
No, it's fine.
I mean, I think that's the same thing we were saying.
Yes.
So I'm gonna write, I'm doing my cross out there, and I'm just gonna say teachers will not be required to teach hybrid or to what? Something about hybrid.
I mean, I think
To
that what we
deliver
had there
hybrid
originally
instruction.
Teachers will not be required to deliver hybrid instruction.
Yes.
Be required to deliver hybrid instruction. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Okay. All right.
And then, yes, for the subbing for cost, and we specifically carved out Titusville as they are in block and gave them the 30.
All right. So I want to talk about a couple things. So I can live with just doing things up to December 31st, although that's probably that may require us to come back again. For the most part on leave provisions, I agree. I know not many people took advantage of the 5, I don't want to say took advantage of, but needed the additional 5 days last time round. But there is something that I saw that Polk County just agreed to in their MOA, and I want to put this out to you as well. In Polk County, what they agreed is that vaccinated employees who need the additional 5 days shall receive it. I'm not quite sure how we would verify the vaccination status, maybe through the Department of Health. But I do want to put that out there because we know that our vaccinated employees typically are requiring just the 10 days. So if a vaccinated employee did go beyond that, there would be a means to get those 5 days. And just to be blunt, I would hope it would encourage maybe some folks who decided not to get vaccinated to get vaccinated.
Understood. And by the way, this might be a really nice time to introduce Antonia Scipio, who we see on the camera. She is our new Director of Benefits and Risk, if I said that correctly, Antonia.
Yeah, risk,
And
benefits, risk, whichever way.
And we've been talking about what kinds of information we can require from our folks. So just let me ask a question to see if Antonia has anything to say about it. If an employee wants to utilize a provision and part of that provision requires them giving us information, that would be something that would be allowable. Would you say yes or no to that?
I would say, no, we can't require any information about testing. Vaccination, whether or not someone is vaccinated or not as of right now. I am not aware that we can utilize that information for any one thing or the other.
Can I just ask how other districts are doing it then?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how other districts are doing it. That's something that I would have to investigate. From my standpoint, based on my last conversation on yesterday, asking an individual whether or not they're vaccinated is not something we are allowed to do right now. Now, they may have done something different. And again, I was not prepared to have done any research to have responded to this. But based on what I'm aware of now, I know, Kyle, I'm sorry, based on what I'm aware now, it's not something we can ask an individual about their vaccination status. We can ask them to do the work, and whether or not they volunteer the vaccination status still does not negate what the work or the activity or the whatever we're asking them to do.
So Antonia, let me ask you a question, because it's my understanding that if a teacher is vaccinated, they're going to have a way to provide their vaccination card to the DOH. So they're not going to be required to quarantine in certain circumstances because of their vaccination status. So is it something that somehow could be put through the DOH? Because apparently we're already going to be doing it when it comes to teachers being quarantined.
So let us research that. I appreciate her answer that this is what we were talking about yesterday, and that there's things that we can and cannot ask for. The DOH is not us. It's a different entity, and they are not giving us any information except teachers' quarantine dates. So let us do some research. I like your concept. I agree with your concept. I just need to figure out how we could put it into practice. And again, we don't know anything about what Polk County's doing either.
Dr. Green, I would just like to add that yesterday, the Brevard County Commissioners approved a plan for premium pay for vaccinated employees. So I don't think this is something that is impossible of doing. And my hesitation is that Brevard Public Schools can always find a way to no, but never to yes on issues where you have to think outside the box.
So Kyle,
Let us do some research.
Kyle, let me address what the commission has done and also Orange County has done. I have done research on that. That program is not currently stood up yet. They're still wading through the questions that you guys are asking right now and trying to figure out how they can move around, not violating those PHI information that we are by law right now is not allowed to know unless someone volunteers it. But we can't say, well, teacher A is willing to volunteer, but teacher B is not, therefore they can't participate in some. We want to make sure it's equitable for everyone and make sure that we're being fair across the board. So again, as Dr. Green indicated, we will certainly research and look at that and see what they're doing to stand each program up and what protocols they're following. And DOH is not sharing, and I want to reiterate, they're not sharing any information with us at all other than dates and numbers. That's it. They're not sharing anything else. And the reason why I can say that, I'm looking at it this morning and yesterday and day before. I'm seeing what they're sending out to individuals here within the county school district.
So let us do some research.
All right, so, okay, so then moving on to the safe environments, I'm just going to reiterate how important the option of the virtual professional development is to us. And I don't think most teachers are going to, use the virtual option, but there are some who feel that they need to do that for a variety of reasons to keep themselves safe and their families safe. So I am really asking you to reconsider that, and we will go to the board, and I'm sure we'll be able to get them to agree with that, because it's a very common sense approach. And
I have a question on that.
just hold on one second, Jonathan. And I just want to mention that, okay, we're not talking all year. We're talking to December. I don't know how to do it anything less than December. But if you had a way of thinking how we could, then we're going to get into metrics and this and that. But, if we reevaluate at the end of September, or we reevaluate at the end of October, I don't quite know how we would, from a practical standpoint, make that work. Jonathan, what did you want to say?
On the offering a virtual option, when they say every effort, I know we had a situation this year with a principal, that principal really did make every effort, and it was very clear. But I guess my question is, what happens when every effort is not the case? Then what is the recourse?
So do you mean a principal didn't make every effort, or every effort didn't work to keep people 6 feet apart? Which of those? I don't know which one you're asking.
Both. If the principal didn't make every effort and it just wasn't where they decided to have it, physically wouldn't work, but every effort was not made, then what happens? What becomes the recourse?
Well, I think, like anything else, it can be grieved. But
What happens to the teacher's safety prior to that? We all know that process.
But also, let me say this, Jeff. Let me say this. I think you and us meaning the big us, have really good collaborative working relationships.
Absolutely.
And I don't think there were too many situations, we have a large district, 100 plus sites, 8,000 employees now, 8,600. But I don't think we had too many situations last year, that we weren't able to work out and come together. Yes, we had a couple of bumps in the road, but I think we all do a really good job of talking about what the true situations are and talking to our administration and helping them understand. And I don't think we had too many situations last year where administration didn't do everything they could do. They're just as concerned about teachers' safety and health as you are.
Yeah, I understand. And I agree with you. But I think the issue happens when the issue happens when, it goes out, and let's just say a faculty meeting, and every effort hasn't been made. The teacher, demonstrates that, okay, I don't think it's safe, but the time doesn't allow for any kind of recourse. At that time, pretty much the teacher is being forced to attend the faculty meeting because there's nothing in writing that says if these parameters can't be made, then we have an option. We have a safer option.
Well, I think we outlined for our administration the efforts that can be made. Holding faculty meetings twice, making sure that you were doing small group professional development, making sure that if we're bringing people together, that we're doing everything we can do to be 6 feet apart. You have to remember, we had some people last year that complained about being in an auditorium that seats 700 people with 80 people in there, and they were complaining that it wasn't safe. Remember what the CDC guidelines are. 6 feet for some, 3 feet for others. We all of us have to be reasonable on what is
Dr. Green,
a
I'm
safe
sorry.
environment.
I'm sorry, I know we're trying to move on, but remember what the CDC guidelines are. Wear a mask when you're indoors.
Absolutely, 100%. Wear a
So,
mask.
I mean, I
That,
understand you're trying
and
to move on.
teachers, administrators, if you're worried about it, we learned, that's what I said before. We learned a lot about safety last year, a ton. Wear your mask.
So Dr. Green, you know, we saw today when you say, I think administrators, and I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush here, but administrators care as much as we do about employee safety. That was not demonstrated today by having every secondary teacher in these two buildings. We, BFT, on the other hand, had our executive board meeting last night, and realizing the situation we are in, did it virtually because we know that's the safest thing to do. Is it the most ideal way of doing things? No, but you know what else isn't ideal? Having a lot of sick teachers and a whole lot of subs because we're making, you know, foolish decisions. And I just go back to, yes, we did learn some things last year, but this new variant, it's not the same. It's much more contagious. I mean, we got folks that, you know, were like, I don't know, I wasn't around anybody for longer than 15 minutes. I'm vaccinated and I got COVID-19. You know, so I don't understand, you know, we can't base it all on last year. You know, that's the governor's plan, and it doesn't seem to be working right now. In between, while we were on caucus, I, you know, looked at the news. Florida leads the way in the nation in hospitalizations. So we are in a different situation. We know we don't have the mask requirement. So I reiterate that one in particular is very important to us. If you can think
And
of a counter that works, give me
And
a
we will
counter.
work on that, but you can't base all professional development this year on today. We don't have a school that has more than 200 teachers. We don't. And we have all our schools that have 200 teachers have ways to keep them socially distanced. So you cannot base this argument on what happened today when 2,000 teachers were coming together. We're talking about professional development during the school year in a school setting.
Well,
So I hear you, but you can't base everything on today.
I don't want to keep going down this road, but I think it set a very bad and dangerous precedent for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so I'm, you know, we talked about the district-wide closure and the school-wide closure, just keeping it in there in the highly unlikely event that happens. And then we agreed on that. So can we have a few minutes to caucus and come back? I just want to talk to the team about the leave provisions some more.
Okay.
hey, Anthony, I had one question about the leave provision for Dr. Green that I've been waiting to ask. So in the very beginning, I think you crossed out and you said, I'm trying to pull it up. I'm sorry. It says something about May. It's the A1. So 1A1, and it says may work remotely and under the provisions if they desire. If they do not, they will be expected to use personal leave time. So I'm confused with like where that would leave a teacher or a custodian whose kids are quarantined and they're at home because their kids are quarantined. Like a mother or a father, I mean, a grandmother could be anybody. Because we realize how, you know, families are right, you know, today.
Hang on, let me pull up the thing. And by the way, I'm glad you pointed that out because we are missing personal leave time after their FFCRA. So we need to add that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back to the form itself. So I am caring for an individual subject to an order to quarantine. So their own personal kids, you know, minor kids,
Yeah.
that's after the FFCRA. If I'm,
Okay.
let's pretend, I know your children are a little bit older, all at this point in time.
No, Dr. Green, I think, I don't think we have to pretend. So I'm just trying to speed it up. So, but what it reads is it says, if they do not work from home, they will be expected to use personal leave time. It doesn't say, is that
After
what you're saying?
after FFCRA, after the extended Brevard Public Schools, I'll put that in there. I said, I'm glad you
Okay.
brought that up because I think it's missing that clause.
Okay.
What letter is that? Where are you guys looking at that?
We're looking at 1A1.
1A1.
Mhm. They will not be expected to use personal leave time until the expand or the, what do we call it? The limited provisions have been exhausted. Right, Kyle?
That's what we would hope, but I didn't,
Yeah.
it stood out to me. I didn't know if you meant that or not. So
Nope,
that's why I was
do.
asking.
Mhm. Yes. All right.
All right, so I almost called it quarantine. We're gonna caucus for a minute. We're gonna quarantine for a minute. Can you guys hop off and then I'll let you back in a minute?
Yes. Antonia, I will conference you in with Melissa on your phone.
I just printed the proposal. I'm gonna go and grab it. Hold on.
Dude, they're so easy just to get to know. Everybody in the country is requiring employees to be vaccinated. We can't even ask if they're vaccinated to give them 5 extra days.
I don't know. I'm tripping. When she says every effort, well, yeah, a lot of principals make every effort, but what about the ones that don't? I mean,
I feel bad for Sullivan because my guess is she didn't want to do that damn training today,
I
and
don't
they
think so
wouldn't let
either.
her change it.
Yeah.
No, she did want to do it. She's the one who dug into it. That's what I heard.
Oh,
And-
well, then I don't feel bad for
Right.
Sullivan today.
Yeah. So Kyle, I'm trying to figure out. Hold
So,
on.
were
Where's
you
that
talking about the last question I asked?
about who are they leaving? What is it? Force?
Okay, so I think what they're leaving out, and it's very confusing, but they're leaving out is caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed.
Right.
Our child care providers unavailable. I actually think like they should. Here's my frustration with this one, and I didn't like want to bring it up in there because I don't know what everybody else's opinion is. But
Mhm.
one, the district's not paying for this. Like,
Yeah.
let's start
Right.
there.
Right. It's not their
The
money.
second issue, so if you're a teacher with a child whose
Yeah.
daycare closes or get quarantined, because of that, like, then you're just shit out of luck.
Right.
Like,
I
Right.
agree. So
Yes.
I'm looking at it. So she said there were good. Did she specifically say numbers 1 through 4 somewhere?
I don't know. I'm like really confused on how they did that. Like, I'm not gonna lie to
Yeah,
you.
what-
And I thought it might just be because I have COVID and I get like these hazy moments. But then I realized I still got it today, so it's all right.
Yeah, we can't say she's got limited portions of leave provisions. So we need to say qualifying reasons. Number 6, I don't care about is experiencing any other substantial.
Yeah, I don't care about either.
Yeah, but no, we gotta hang tight on that number 5, okay, which is
So
the
she needs
child.
to fix that,
Okay. Other than that, I think.
I highlighted this part, distance learning while teachers is under quarantine. As a member of the bargaining unit will be compensated. I thought they let some teachers like work random hours if it worked for them, but I can't remember. I swear it was like,
No,
okay,
that was
something else.
That was when we were doing the 3 hours for the whole district.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Kyle, other than that,
Dude,
I'm going to ask her to reconsider the buyback too, to talk to Beth about that.
well,
Okay.
I mean, what is it? Just her? Like, she can't call anybody today? We're
I don't
always
know.
at this where like she has the ability to do nothing.
Well,
I'm
the-
You know
sorry.
how that's how they work though. You know, that's their process. So don't let it trip you too hard.
all right.
Let her go back. Let her go back and work her shit.
Hey, and I'm
Okay.
really sorry. I didn't mean to like jump all over it when she said no hybrid, but it was more of a smart ass comment where it was like, yeah, that's what we've been asking for the whole time.
No, I'm fine. That's exactly what I was gonna say, so. All
Hey,
right,
do you
so,
get the feeling that they got a different alternative definition of what hybrid's gonna be? Because that seemed like a little too easy.
no, she just doesn't know what the
Well, I
hell
think-
she's talking about, is what it is.
I'm about to go into central, but I think what it is they're easily saying there's no hybrid right now because the governor hasn't given that as an option. So, but as soon as he comes in and says it's an option, because they're not getting, because that's what the Orange County or the Seminole County superintendent and the Orange County representative kept saying over and over on the WKMG thing that I was on last night, that the government or the Tallahassee is not funding that. So that's why it's not there.
Mhm.
So really, they're not doing it because they're not getting money for it, not because they truly believe what a nightmare it was for teachers.
Okay.
So
That makes
I
more
think
sense.
just like Jonathan said earlier, I think it's great that we put the word hybrid in there, and we've got this on the recording that that's what we mean,
Right,
so.
right.
But I'm gonna walk inside for my grievance meeting now.
Good luck.
All right.
Okay,
Anthony, you kept this all recording.
oh.
You're gonna have to, you know what? We just won't have video for it.
we go. All right, Dr. Green, thank you for the time so we could go and caucus. Have a couple things I want to talk about. So as far as the leave provision section, we're good with most of that. We want to see some more clarifying language in the leave provisions. So 1A says the school board has voluntarily elected to allow limited portions of the leave provisions. So what we are asking is that those qualifying reasons are listed. I think you had mentioned 1 through 4, but we are also asking or countering with 1 through 5, which number 5 is caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed or childcare is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19. This is why we received that federal grant money for situations like this, so everybody can make the best decisions for our community and their families to help mitigate the spread. So we're asking that in this rare situation, that the leave it continues to be provided. So want to see 2 things there. Want to see them specifically spelled out or reference to a document where they're spelled out, and we do want to include number 5 in there. We're not number 6. If you don't want to include that, that's fine with us, but we'd like to see that.
Okay.
All right. And then also with the sick leave buyback, and ask that you continue to look into that.
Okay, hang on. I'm noting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then did you, what did you decide about the district-wide closure and the school closure?
So what I decided is we're gonna have to do a little bit of research, and especially related to the vaccination and the clause that you mentioned about if you're vaccinated, like we do think that that's a very positive thing that might entice people to get vaccinated. We have to research that, and so
Mhm.
we will consider we'll consider putting that back in. We didn't discuss that while we were out. So
Okay.
when after, I'm gonna assume we're gonna come back maybe Monday.
Okay.
So we'll look at that and have it ready to go for
All right.
Monday.
All right. So I mean, that's you know, I think we're close on the leave provisions. Like I said, I just asked that you add that number 5 in there and then spell out the qualifying reason.
Oh, Anthony, it was
Yeah.
one other thing in the leave provision too.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Dr. Green, we were gonna ask if you could extend that 48 hours to 72 hours. And the reason for that request is it took me 6 hours to get tested on Tuesday. And that is like not an exaggeration. I went at 8 o'clock in the morning and I didn't get tested till almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon because so many people are trying to get tested and there's not a lot of sites available right now. And I also know some people were making appointments to get tested at CVS and there was actually no appointments for at least a day in their area.
Mhm.
So there's actually a testing problem right now. Like if you drive by MedFast and Rockledge, you'll see like 50 to 60 people sitting outside. I know from my personal experience, somebody came from the Rockledge site and said they were at a 6 hour at 7:30 in the morning to get tested. So I understand your concern about, you know, people taking advantage of it and not getting tested, but I also understand that there's no countywide sites right now. There's no state sites like we had last year. The district also doesn't have the ability to do testing at their health centers. So just because of the difficulty of testing, I don't know if you could think about that. We do understand your concern though about somebody taking 2 weeks off and not getting tested.
When you said 48 or 72, are you saying, it's 48 in the paperwork? Are you saying move it to 72? I didn't get the 72 reference.
I think that would be the request.
Okay.
It's because of how, like, I'm from personal experience,
Got it.
getting tested on Tuesday was a complete nightmare. I
Okay.
could have got the vaccine easier now. It's ironic how tides have turned.
Okay. I will put that in the notes.
Okay. You know, so I mean, do you want to go through and TA things that we are good with? Or do you want to just wait until?
Let's do that Monday.
Okay.
Let's do it on Monday.
All right.
Because the things that we are good with, we'll just take the red lines out.
Okay.
And I changed, remember, while we were talking the last time, I did change a couple of the language things that, you know, per your request, I clarified. So
Can you send that over to me?
I will when we're done today.
Okay. So we can meet virtually again on Monday if you can pull it off.
Yes.
Okay. You want to do the same time?
I have a 1 o'clock.
Do you have a 1 o'clock appointment or availability?
I have a 1 o'clock appointment. Could we either do, hang on a second. I can do any time between 10 and noon, or I could do 2:30.
Yeah, let's do 10 to 12 there.
Okay.
And I'll create a link.
The guy quarantined would have asked for 2:30.
You'll be better by then. You'll be better.
If you'll do the link and I will forward it out to my team and
Okay.
with the calendar invite.
All right.
I'm assuming, Dr. Green, you didn't have a response about the virtual link for professional development. I'm assuming we're in the same.
Well, our response remains no. That's our response.
Okay.
Our response remains, we need that. So
Our response is you can't use today as an example.
Dr. Green, today was set up by an assistant superintendent.
I hear
If you
you.
can't use that as an example, I don't know what you use as.
I hear what you're saying, but it was set up for 2,000 teachers.
Oh. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back on Monday.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
we'll see what we can do in terms of the research and the vaccination and all that.
Okay.
So, thank
right.
you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Gray.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stop recording, Anthony.